told you that you can create objects of, you know, Chrome driver and say Firefox driver.
Ashish, sorry to interrupt, but if I'm not able to launch a browser, then what will be the possible, issue?
Yeah, if somehow this line still fails, and that means there is a version mismatch between the exe which you have and the browser version which you have. So you have to make sure that the version is correct.
Okay.
Okay. Sometimes the browsers they automatically update themselves. So after that, you'll have to update the exe as well. All right. Now here is the object of the Chrome driver class. Right. If you write Chrome driver dot, you will get a lot of functions. Okay. And there is a get function. Fine. The get function requires the URL of the website where you want to navigate to. So whichever website you want to go to, just give the URL of that site and run the program. Right. And you see that the URL loads the website. Okay. And you can also, make sure that you give the protocol HTTP or HTTPS. If you don't give it, you'll get an error. You have to give the protocol out here, right? And there are lots of other functions which we will be looking at, right? Similarly for Firefox driver as well, if you write Firefox driver dot, you will get a lot of functions. You can use the get function to navigate to a particular website, right? Now this will open bbc.com, right? Now the question which arises is that if you have to write a script which works on multiple browsers, how do we do that? Okay, that is one script which works on Chrome, Firefox, as well as say Edge. If you want to work with Edge, then go to the official website of Selenium. Edge is more or less Chrome these days because the inner engine is Chromium engine, right? And you go to the browsers, select Edge, right click, go over here, and then launch Microsoft Edge of your PC and go to help, or hold on, about Microsoft Edge. Sorry. Go here, you will see the version and 96.0.1054.29. It's going to update itself. Just hold on. And corresponding to the version which you have on the Microsoft website, which you had opened after you had opened the Edge browser, right? Sorry, after you had clicked on the browser link, right, on the Selenium website, you have to go and look at the version which you are having. Hold on. Corresponding to that, you need to get the exe. I never use Edge, so 1054.29. Okay, 10. This is my version. So corresponding to this version for 64-bit, this is the link. You click on it and you'll get the exe. Okay. So for Edge also, you have to get an exe. Why is this opening? Just hold on. Save file and yeah. So you extract the exe. Right. So this is ms edge driver.exe. Right. And uh, you just copy this exe and put it in your drivers folder. And for Edge, you have to give the same line. WebDriver dot edge dot driver. But for Edge, you have got Edge driver. Okay. And if you run this, you run this. Uh, hold on.
Driver path is wrong.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. My throat is not letting me work actually. Okay. So when you run this, so this will launch Edge. But the question arises is that how do we write a single script which works on all the browsers? Okay, that is suppose I just change the browser name and the script works on all the browsers. Right. For example, I'll create a class known as multiple browsers. Okay. Now I have to write a single script. I have to write a single script which can run on multiple browsers. Okay, now I just want to work it like this, that is, I will have a browser parameter equated to, say, Chrome. Then whatever script I'm writing over here should be running on Chrome browser. If I change the browser parameter to Mozilla, then uh, if I write over here Mozilla, then the script should be running on Mozilla. So how do we do that? If anybody has any questions, you can ask me, please. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay. So if you have to write a script, a dynamic script like this, common sense or a normal approach says that you can put an if else statement, that if browser is equal to, this is comparison, Chrome, then you run it on Chrome. Else if browser is running on Mozilla, then you run it on Mozilla. Okay. And you can write else if the browser is Edge, you run it on Edge. Right. So what you will have to do is that you will have to put this kind of code, Chrome over here. Okay. Then this kind of code for Firefox. And then this kind of code for Edge. Okay. And then you write edge driver dot get dp, say, cnn.com. Okay. But does this whole thing make sense to you? Okay. Right. Does this whole thing make sense? Because suppose I have to automate the flow and I have to click on a link on Chrome, then I have to click on a link on Firefox, and then I have to click on a link on Edge, the same link, right? So how do we do that? Right? Because uh, this doesn't look good that I write the same code to click on a link for Chrome separately, Mozilla separately, and Edge. I don't want to write a different script for each browser. Although I've put up if else statements, but if else statements is also forcing me to write a different script for each browser. Okay, so what we do is that we use interfaces in Java over here to solve this problem. The concept of interfaces has got two usages. So let us study that and see how we can solve this problem that I have to launch a single script to run on multiple browsers. But this if else is not helping me. It is forcing me to write duplicate code for every browser. Right. So let us study the concept of interfaces. Fine. Before I start off with that, guys, um, I'm sorry. Like, just give me 5 minutes break. I just need to get some water, warm water, and have it. My throat is not very well. Okay, just 5 minutes, right? I'll be back. You guys can also take a break for 5 minutes. Fine. Okay, just 5 minutes. You are hearing me, right? I don't know. Hello?
Yes, Ashish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just give me 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Yes, hello everyone. Right. So, all right. So I was telling you that how we can make one script which can in turn run on multiple browsers. Right. So for that, we'll study the concept of interfaces. Right. For interfaces, I'll create a new interface. Instead of a class, I'll create an interface. Now, what interface is? Interface is something which gives you an idea about the system. For example, you go and say buy a book. The cover of the book gives you an idea about what the book is all about. Okay, so you are able to judge the book a little bit from the cover, that find what it covers and what are the topics or what is it about, right? So interface in Java is also similar. It gives you an idea about the system, that what it is. For example, I'll make a very simple interface. For example, a bank interface. Right. So the general features of the bank are transfer and clear check. So interface has got no method body. In the interface, we just put the methods. Okay, we just declare them. We don't define them. Okay, so we just put the method names, that fine. These are the features of the interface. Okay, and the interfaces, they are implemented. For example, I'll make a new class known as Citibank. The Citibank class will implement the bank interface. You write it like this. Okay, so you'll get an error. If a class is implementing an interface, okay, it is mandatory for the class to implement all the functions which are declared inside the interface. The interface functions don't have any body. So if a class is implementing the interface, it has to mandatorily implement all the functions of the interface. You just move the mouse over the error and you'll get the option add unimplemented methods. Okay, so you have to implement the transfer function as well as the clear check function. Right over here, Citibank transfer and Citibank clear check. So you can remove this override annotation. This is known as annotation, or you can keep it. This annotation basically means that this function is coming from this interface. All right. And similarly, you can create one more class, right? Say HSBC Bank. This will also implement the bank interface. Okay, you can add the unintended methods, right? And print HSBC transfer and HSBC clear check. Okay, right. So you have the HSBC bank, you have the Citibank. So both the bank classes are implementing the bank interface. Okay, HSBC can implement the transfer and clear check function in its own way, and Citibank can implement the transfer and clear check function in its own way. So diagrammatically, what I did was that I had this bank interface, and this bank interface was implemented by two classes, HSBC Bank, Citibank. Okay, so this bank interface, it had few functions, right? Say A or B. So whatever are the functions in the interface, the classes have to implement those functions. They can implement in its own way, but the function names will remain same in both the classes. So what did I achieve out of this? I could have never made the bank interface. I could have simply made two classes. Okay, look, this thing actually brings on a uniformity to the system, a discipline to the system. Right. If more banks come up tomorrow and more banks, they will have to implement this interface. So the function names in all the banks will remain same. Okay, a layman looking at the code will just have to look at the interface bank and he will understand that fine, if the bank has got these two functions and all the other classes will have these two functions. Okay, so the concept of interface, right, it has got two advantages. One is that same name of functions in all classes, all implementing classes, right? Say suppose I make an executable class known as test bank with the main function. Out here I will create the object of Citibank, also HSBC Bank. So both uh, objects will have the same set of functions. HSBC dot transfer and HSBC dot clear check. All right, fine, guys. Just a minute. I'm sorry. Phone is ringing. Yeah, sorry. So you have these two functions. All right. And these two functions will actually be same for all the implementing classes. So this is the first advantage, right? If you go to the official website of Selenium and if you go to the documentation of Selenium API docs, then out here in all classes section, whatever is written in italics, these are the in Selenium. Okay. For example, this is the interface mouse. Okay. And it's got functions which corresponding which are corresponding to the mouse movements like click, context click, double click, mouse move, mouse up, right? And these are the implementing classes, the classes which implement the mouse interface. Okay, so you can study the documentation like this. If you scroll down, you will you will actually get something known as I told you yesterday as well. WebDriver. It is written in italics. WebDriver is an interface. It is the starting point of the architecture of Selenium. Right. Technically, WebDriver is an interface. If somebody asks you what is WebDriver, so it's basically an interface. Okay. And these are the implementing classes. All the driver classes, Chrome driver, Firefox driver, Edge, Opera, Safari, all the driver classes, they implement the WebDriver interface. Okay. So that means whether you are using Chrome driver or you are using Firefox driver or any other driver, right? The functions, the function names in all the classes, because all these classes, they implement the WebDriver interface. Okay, right. So if you look at, sorry, if you look at, say, the WebDriver interface, it's got functions which can be fired on the browser, like close will close the browser, get the title, right? So this basically means that whatever are the functions inside the WebDriver interface, get function will be there inside these classes. Like get function is there in all the classes. After going to the website, if you want to get the title of the site, you can write Chrome driver dot get title. Okay, and in Firefox driver also get title function will be there because Firefox driver is also implementing the WebDriver interface. Okay, and Edge driver dot get title. So in Selenium, the structure goes like this. Instead of bank and HSBC, you have the WebDriver interface and all the driver classes, home driver, Firefox driver, Edge driver, RE driver, Opera driver. All these classes, they are implementing the WebDriver interface. So all these classes have got same set of functions. Right. So if I am using Mozilla and if I run the script, so Mozilla is going to open. Right. And it will go to the website. Okay. But the thing is, sorry, this thing, will it help you in solving the problem? Still, I have to write a separate piece of code for every browser. See that? For every browser, I have to write a separate piece of code. Okay, so I told you interfaces have got two advantages. First advantage is same name of functions in all classes, which actually did not help us. The second advantage is dynamic reference, which I'm going to explain you today and which will solve the problem which I just discussed over here. Okay, you cannot just repeat this code, right, for every browser separately. So let us look at dynamic reference. Okay, now over here you see how I have created the object. Bank was an interface and Citibank and HSBC Bank were implementing the interface. Okay, I was creating the object of Citibank like this, HSBC Bank like this. Now I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to write bank, say B1 equals to new HSBC Bank. Now this line is different than the above line. Okay, over here, the references of the HSBC class. Over here, I'm writing the reference of interface is equal to object of bank class. I'm creating the object of the bank class, equating it to the reference of the interface bank. Okay, right. Then P1 dot transfer, you can call P1 dot clear check, you can call. Basically, how this line is different from this line. If I run this, still I am able to, like if I run this, you will see that in the output it prints HSBC transfer, HSBC clear check. So the output is same for this line as well as if I'm writing transfer and clear check. Output is same. So how is this line different from this line? Okay, when we create the object like this with the reference, we can only access the functions of the HSBC class coming from the bank function, from the bank interface. Suppose HSBC class has got its own proprietary function, say public void, say currency. Trading of currency is being offered by HSBC Bank, and it is only being offered by HSBC Bank, not by the Citibank. So when we create the object of HSBC Bank, I can call HSBC dot currency trade over here. But when we call the bank, when we create the object like this, equating to the object of HSBC class. Out here, the object of HSBC was being created with the reference of HSBC Bank. If I create like this, then I can only access the functions in HSBC Bank which are coming from the bank interface. I cannot write B1 dot, I will not get the option. I'll get an error. Okay. So if you create the object like this, you can only access the class. You are restricted. But what is the use of this restriction? Okay, you are restricted to use only transfer and clear check, not the proprietary functions. So what is the use of this interface? Reference. Okay, I'll just tell you. I can also write bank B2 equals to new Citibank. And if I write B2 dot transfer, so this will call the, I'll just put a demarcating line over here. This will call the transfer function of Citibank. But here is the twist. Understand this carefully. I can equate B2 to object of HSBC Bank. This is what the difference is. If I write B2 dot transfer, this will call the transfer function is HSBC Bank. The same command over here would have called the transfer function in Citibank. So this is the reference B2. It was pointing towards the object of Citibank. But same B2, I can move to the object of HSBC Bank as well. The interface reference I can point towards any implementing class object. So this creates the difference. Okay, I can say, if any questions you can ask me, please. I can declare bank B3 equals to null. What is null? Null means nothing. That means B3 object reference is not pointing anywhere. Based on my requirement, I can make B3 point towards object of HSBC Bank, or I can make B3 point towards object of Citibank. Right. You can write B3 dot transfer and B3 dot clear check functions over here. So when you run this, fine. Okay, so this is from Citibank, this is from HSBC. Anybody with any questions? At times people get confused over here. That's why I, right. So similarly, in Selenium, how we have been creating the objects. We have been creating the objects like this: Chrome driver object, then Firefox driver object, Edge driver. Right. We know that all the classes, these three classes, they are implementing the web driver interface. So instead of creating objects like this, we can also create objects with the help of reference web driver interface. Web driver, Chrome driver equals to new CD like this. Or I can write web driver equals to null. Based on my choice, I can make driver point towards object of Chrome driver or Firefox driver or Edge driver. It is my choice. This line is similar to the bank interface. Citibank. Classes are implemented in the bank interface. Similarly over here. Right. Okay. So the code which we had written over here, This should not be like this. I'll remove this code. I'll declare the WebDriver interface. And driver equals to new Chrome driver can be written over here in case the browser is Chrome. In case the browser is Firefox, and driver equals to new Firefox driver, and driver equals to new Edge driver. Okay. Out here, once the driver is initialized, you can write driver.get anywhere, cnn.com. So when you run this, you see that it opens Firefox, and I just need to change the browser name, Chrome. And whatever code I have to write to interact with the web page can be written once the browser is open. Okay, I can write driver.getTitle. This will get me the title of the web page, no matter what the browser is. Now, if I run this, it will run on Chrome and go to cnn.com. Right. You see that? Okay. So this is what exactly interfaces how they Selenium. You just need to initialize the driver to null and equate it to the implementing class. And depending on which browser you want to open, you can put an if-else statement. Anyone with any question? Anything? Right. So we will stop here for today. Stop the recording. I'll definitely send you the recording today. Okay.